Hey, this is Steve Bloom, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 80 of the Cinema Geeks. I am one of your geeks, Optimus Solo. Joining me as usual is Movie Revolt Dan. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. And Hard Candy Mandy. Hello.
Yo, what up?
Yo, what up? I thought you were going to say Yolandi for some reason. I don't know why.
Dude.
But and we are here with another one of our kind of preview episodes for 2016. Last week you heard us make our box office predictions, and as usual we follow that up with our most anticipated films. And this is obviously one of the ones that I look forward to the most. I love looking at what's coming up and what's coming out in the next year. Not 2 years from now or 3 years from now, but what's actually coming this year, which we could actually probably list a bunch of films that don't come out this year. So we'll see how our luck pays off, because I know, Dan, when we did our list last year, we had quite a few that actually got bumped.
Yeah, there's actually, funny enough, a good amount of my most anticipated movies from last year may reappear on this. So.
Yes, I also have a few that were on my last year list that will make it a reappearance. I'm not going to boot them off. So how we do this basically is we each compile our own individual lists. I think, Dan, you ranked about, 50 of them or so?
About that, yeah.
Yeah. Amanda, I don't know how far you went. You went past 30.
I did a 52.
You did 52.
Yeah.
And I actually had 100 because I plan on putting an actual blog post up that will feature all 100 just to kind of give you a Geeks to look at 2016 guide to movies or something we can call it. But what we did is we cut it off at the 30, so we didn't pay attention to what anybody had after 30. And how we do this is very similar to what we did last year. We pulled out any that all three of us had in common, and those films that are on all three of our lists, we'll call those the common most anticipated films. And we're going to save those till the end, and we're going to talk about those at the end to kind of close out the show. And up until that point, we'll just be doing a top 10, and we'll be calling it our unique list, but it's basically anything that we had on our list that did not make all three people's lists. It might have just been on our list, or it might have been on two of the three people's lists. So that's kind of how we'll do this. So it's not necessarily a true countdown when we say, like, what's your number 10 or what's your number 9. It might not actually be what was their number 10 or what was their number 9, but just allows us to kind of talk about a few more films over the course of this episode. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. You don't really need to know any of that. You just can sit back, listen to us talk about films that are coming out in 2016. So, Dan, anything that you wanted to get out there before we hit the list, anything that kind of influenced your selection this year, or any themes that you're seeing as far as what we're looking forward to in 2016?
Well, the only thing I definitely tried to do this year was stick with movies that had a pretty solid release date. So if something was like TBD or not really set in stone, I kind of didn't include that. Usually what kind of influenced my list, you'll see, mainly will be directors, obviously, huge impact. And also, cast and actors I didn't see many really themes, but I honestly didn't really look for any. But
right.
Hopefully the theme will be good movies. So that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, for sure. There's obviously a lot of different ways that you can go about making one of these lists, and you alluded to a bunch of them. You obviously pay attention to the directors that are involved. Certain people have a track record that makes you look forward to their next project. Like you said, some of the cast might, a cast combination or an ensemble might kind of trick you up to something. Sometimes, I guess, a plot synopsis, or maybe those that actually have trailers out there or images of some sort might influence it. So, and then of course you have the franchise ones, the ones that have a track record of something that you might be a fan of or not. So it's kind of interesting to see how that all kind of shakes out and how it translates into our individual lists. Amanda, anything, this is the first time you've had to do this, so anything that kind of stuck out or criteria that you used to narrow down your list down to 30, 50, etc.?
God, this is so hard. I think you even tweeted out, like, why does this have to be so hard? I think I'm definitely one of those people who gets too excited for movies, so I'm trying not to have such high expectations this year, but I still get super excited about the films that I want to see. So it was interesting doing this in such a large scale. Normally I see some previews and I'm like, yeah, I'm on board, but actually having to to look at the entire year now is a little overwhelming because there's a ton of stuff coming out, and trying to weed through like what I really thought was going to be worthy of the list or not was a difficult and daunting task, I must say.
And the other thing that I wanted to do, and the reason I went up to 100 is not because I'm trying to like be some type of overachiever or anything like that.
Oh, wait. Okay.
The reason I wanted to go to 100 because I wanted to give myself a kind of like a checklist of movies to look out for throughout the year, and just different things that I was wanting to look at, or different things that I wanted to keep my eyes peeled out for when the release dates come out, so I don't miss as many maybe as I have in the past. So I think that's one reason why I enjoyed kind of expanding my list as large as I did. But all right, I think it's time then to go ahead and get into our unique picks, and we'll start ladies first with Miss Amanda. What do you have at number 10 for your unique list?
Turns out my number 10 became Alice Through the Looking Glass. I really enjoyed the first little installment of the live-action Alice, and I think this new one looks even more awesome. I really do like Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter. I think it's super colorful, and I think it's got a lot of charisma, and I think it's going to be a fun down the rabbit hole ride.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the first one, so
we own it.
We can watch it in anticipation of this one, and I'll go see this one, because that's kind of the main reason why I'm maybe not as on board with this one as I could be, just because I don't have the experience with the other one, and I guess that kind of shades it a little bit. Dan, did you see the first one?
I did not. I just kind of saw it. I'm like, I don't want to watch that, so I didn't, but...
Haters!
I know.
What the hell? I'm going to sit over here in my Alice Through the Looking Glass Island and flip you guys off.
I did watch the Disney cartoon, if that counts, so...
No, it doesn't.
I was in a phase for quite some time that turned me away from Tim Burton and anything he did, so maybe...
Was that phase called watching his movies?
It was called watching his movies after Edward Scissorhands and Batman.
I may or may not have multiple Tim Burton movies on my list here, so...
The Tim Burton Johnny Depp duo outweighed its welcome.
Dude, I'm about that life, though. I'm totally okay with it.
All right. For my number 10, I tried... We're going to see this, too, because I did have quite a few, as I was going through my 100, that don't have release dates, so I'm hoping that not too many of them actually make my list. My first one is scheduled to be an October release. It's a thriller, and it's titled Girl on a Train, and directed by Tate Taylor, who did Get On Up and The Help, and I'm not saying that's why it's on my list necessarily. I actually haven't seen The Help, but the main reason it's making my list is the cast includes Emily Blunt and Rebecca Ferguson, and I think when you put those two actresses and then you title it a thriller, and kind of the plot synopsis that it involves, and I won't go into it, but it seems like there's some bloodiness, some action, some suspense, some crime going on there, and I just think it would be interesting to watch Emily Blunt and Rebecca Ferguson. I don't know who's playing who.
Who the hell's Rebecca Ferguson? What else has she been in?
Mission Impossible.
Rogue Nation.
I can't remember. Rogue Nation. Do you remember that?
That movie's so forgettable. All I remember is him holding his breath underwater for like 20 minutes in that stupid turbine thing.
But she got a lot of attention for kind of the action set pieces in that film, and I think Emily Blunt gets a lot of attention for the similar things, whether it be Edge of Tomorrow or even a little bit in Sicario. So I just think it would be cool to watch these two play off each other and to see kind of how it all plays out. So
I actually had that listed within my top 50, because I actually watched Get On Up not too long ago, and I was surprised how good that was. It was a lot better than I thought it would be, and Help is pretty solid as well. But I
remember a lot of people liking Help. I just never saw it.
It's good. I mean, it is kind of, maybe Oscar beaty a little bit, but it's an enjoyable movie. Some good performances for sure. Viola Davis is phenomenal. She should have won that year, but yeah. So I have really debated putting that within my list as well.
All right, so Girl on a Train was my number 10. Dan, what's yours?
My number 10 is actually, we talked about movies that I was anticipating. I was anticipating this one last year, but it appears it's actually coming out this year, and it is Green Room, directed by Jeremy Saulnier. who the reason it's on here mainly is because 2 years ago, Jeremy Saulnier did the movie Blue Ruin, which was in my top 10 of that year, I think actually in the top 5. And then kind of the first time I ever watched one of his films. It's only the second movie he did. The other one was really even a more low-budget independent film. But I really liked that Blue Ruin, what it did to the crime genre. And the premise of Green Room sounds interesting to me. Basically, it's a young punk rock band. They find themselves trapped in a secluded venue after stumbling upon a horrific act of violence. So it seems like it's one of those situations where it's a one-day story, and also stars Patrick Stewart. So
that's all you have to say for me.
So I don't know, seeing Patrick Stewart in that type of a framework seems interesting to me. So it has me intrigued. So that's why it's my number 10.
Gentlemen, I hope you appreciate the situation. Things have gone south. No doubt. Now, whatever you saw or did is no longer my concern. But let's be clear. It won't end well.
You're coming.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by Patrick Stewart kind of getting a little bit of a different role. I know a lot of people have been talking about the clip that is available. I haven't actually seen it, but they said he's creepy as hell.
I have not seen it either.
So I'm intrigued to go seek that out, but I don't necessarily need to because I thought Blue Ruin was an interesting film too, and I think Patrick Stewart is enough to get me to punch my ticket to that one as well. So good pick there. Amanda, your number 9.
I have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiars, another Tim Burton film.
We see a trend.
But Ava Green, Sam Jackson, what? Sign me up. So I think just the sound and the premise of this sounds like my kind of thing. Yeah,
and the premise for this one was about a boy enraptured by his grandfather's tale of an island of monsters and kids with powers. And some of that ends up, I guess, coming true. So, yeah, Asa Butterfield, like you said, Ava Green, Sam Jackson, Judi Dench. So that's scheduled actually for Christmas Day.
So I have to wait that long?
Christmas
for
release.
like that?
Yeah. You can't have all of your Tim Burton stuff come out at the same time.
Well,
you have to space it out throughout the year so you can enjoy the entire year.
Yeah.
I don't think he's actually directing Alice Through the Looking Glass, right? I think he's only producer on that one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't think he's So you are correct on that.
Okay.
Don't rain on my parade.
It's James Bobin's the director. He did the 2 Muppet movies, and he did a lot of work with Flight of the Conchords and the Ali G show.
You can definitely see Tim Burton's hand in it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also, interesting enough, that is actually Alan Rickman's final film role as a voice in that film.
He plays Absalom.
Yep. So last time you're going to be able to hear his voice on a new film. So
sad.
And that one is scheduled for May. So you can have a May release in that vein, and then you can wait till December for your other one. For my number 9, it's one we talked about when we talked about the box office. I didn't actually think it would come up, but as I was doing a little bit more research, I kind of started climbing my list a little bit. On my true list, it's 19, but here it'll be my number 9, and that is the film from Disney, the animated film Moana. And it's scheduled for a November release, so I think we're going to be safe there. Obviously, we have the voices of Shakira and The Rock, but what really made it climb, I guess, a little bit for me is the directing team that's behind this. They go by it's the name of Ron Clements and John Musker, who...
Musker?
Musker. Musker. Why is that funny?
Just sounded funny.
Anyways, the exact same duo was also behind The Great Mouse Detective, Aladdin, Little Mermaid, and Princess and the Frog, and Hercules. So I think that's a pretty good track record, especially those early things. So I'm hoping that them together with another kind of Disney...
Don't you dare talk about the latest Disney installments. The Princess and the Frog, did you even like that?
It was decent. I don't like it as much as I like Tangled and Frozen, but I thought it was decent. But anyways, they're behind Aladdin and Little Mermaid, and those are probably two of my top 5 favorite Disney films of all time. So I'm hoping they can recreate some of that magic. And it's The Rock in an animated Disney film, so that should be fun.
Where was Moana on my true list?
It's actually, you and I both had it at 19.
Sweet.
So we were actually in lockstep with that one. So
how did it end up on your list and not mine?
Because you had already used your top 10 films before you got down to 19. I had to go a little bit further to get some unique ones.
I just don't get the math behind this.
Don't try to. Don't try to. Dan, help us out. What's your number 9?
Well, my number 9, I was told there was no math, so that's what.
Math is evil. We don't do math.
Well, my number 9 is actually kind of out already, or will be by the time this drops, I believe, and it is Hail Caesar. The most recent Coen Brothers film, and that's pretty much a big reason why it's on my list. I will say, though, I haven't been loving the trailers per se. I don't know, something about it, it's a strange humor that they're going for, and it can be hit and miss. But that cast is pretty astounding. Scarlett Johansson, Channing Tatum, Tilda Swinton, Ray Fiennes, George Clooney, Jonah Hill. It's like a never-ending list. It's also about a time period I'm a huge fan of, like the 1950s in Hollywood. So in kind of this mystery musical extravaganza. So there's a lot that could be here. I could also see this being a gigantic flop, at least in the sense of commercially, box office wise, because I don't know how much this is going to really, appeal to mass audiences. But not saying it'll be a bad movie, but I don't know. Coen Brothers have really, they have a pretty impressive track record. Maybe only 1 or 2 bad films here and there, Lady Killers and Tolerable Cruelty come to my mind. But I don't know. I'm hoping it will follow through and be quite good.
You know, it's interesting that this was also on my list. It was number 23 on my list. But you bring up the trailer, and I find that interesting because if you showed me the trailer without any text or without any other knowledge of the film, and then you asked me who was directing that film, I'd almost say Wes Anderson's directing that film. Yeah. Based on the trailer. It just has that kind of feel to it, and you're right, it's a little bit, you're not quite sure what they're going for there, but the cast and the Coen Brothers is enough. You're going to go see it. Everybody's going to see it. So, and
it's coming out in February, so hopefully there's not going to be much else to really go out and see.
Right. So that kind of lends to the fact that you said it could be a complete flop, or, hey, this is the same time that, Grand Budapest Hotel came out, similar, and stuff like that, so maybe it will resonate and have some time to catch up with people, if it gets good reviews right away especially. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. Amanda, you're up next. What other Tim Burton-influenced film do you have at number 8?
Keeping it kind of in the live-action Disney realm, I'm going to go with The Huntsman.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most powerful of them all? If it's a fairy tale you're hoping for, prepare yourself for so much more. You will train, you will harden, you will become my huntsman.
All right, and why Huntsman?
Chris Hemsworth.
Nice.
I did really enjoy the first installment there as well. Him narrating in the beginning, gets me every time. I really didn't like Kristen Stewart, so I'm glad that they've moved away from that bitch, and it's Jessica Chastain now.
Jessica Chastain, Charlize Theron, and Emily Blunt again.
Man, that's you trading Kristen Stewart for Jessica Chastain and Emily Blunt. I think that's a
2-for-1.
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
It's called an upgrade.
That's the Yankees right there, raving some minor team there. Sorry.
Ew, can we not drop the R-bomb?
No, but I need to rewatch the first one, I guess, because I don't remember a thing about it.
There's some super cool scenes in it, like the forest scene and stuff. I thought that was really well done.
But the posters that have come out so far featuring Charlize Theron and Emily Blunt and Jessica Chastain have a pretty cool look. So, yeah, I'm interested to see where this one goes.
It's got some really cool art, I think, in it.
Yeah.
It's good.
All right, for my next pick, I'm going to try not to be a hypocrite since it was on my on my most anticipated list last year under a different name that didn't come out. Now it has a new name, and I believe it might actually come out. And I know I'm probably, again, alone with, I don't know why I'm anticipating this one as much as I am. It's probably going to be god-awful, but, well, no pun intended. But the title is Risen. And I think it was going under Clavius last year. But, again, this one's strictly for a guilty pleasure as far as a director goes. I'm not saying he's the greatest director of all time, nowhere near it. But for some reason, all his films just kind of are guilty pleasures for me. And it's Kevin Reynolds who did Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Count of Monte Cristo back in the day, starring Joseph Fiennes, Tom Felton, and Peter Firth. And it's obviously the biblical story of the resurrection and kind of that unknown time of what's going on after that when his body is missing and kind of that little mystery to it. I just think it's kind of a cool angle to go to as far as the story goes because we don't necessarily know a lot about that time. I had it on my list last year. I felt like I had to put it back on my list this year. So it is actually, again, another February release. So probably not going to be super great. But February 19th is when it's coming out. That's a terrible job defending my pick.
It's like, yeah, I feel bad about this one, so it's.
But hey, I'll watch it. Whatever. Dan, what do you got at number 8?
My number 8 is another director I'm a huge fan of, and it's Nicholas Winding Refn and his most recent film, Neon Demon. I know Refn's films are hit and miss with a lot of people. A lot of people love Drive. A lot of people hated Only God Forgives. A lot of people hated Valhalla Rising. But I tend to really enjoy pretty much everything he does. Has a pretty good cast. Jenna Maloney, Keanu Reeves, which is interesting. It seems like he's like replacing Ryan Gosling because Ryan Gosling's been in all of his last movies, and Christina Hendricks and Elle Fanning as well. So it's a Refn film, so who knows what it's really about? But apparently it says it's about an aspiring model, but who really knows? There may not be actually a plot to it. Who knows? But I know it's probably going to look pretty. So that's
especially with a title like The Neon Demon, it better be pretty.
Yeah.
And it's listed as a horror/thriller.
Yeah. So and his films can be brutal, and it's with him kind of going into the horror genre full force. I'm interested in seeing what he actually has in store because it could get kind of crazy, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. I actually have that in my top 100 as well. I think it's in the 70s, just because I wasn't sure anything about it. Like what you said about being hit or miss. Yeah, I like some of his films, don't like some of his films. So I have no idea what direction this one's going, but I'm definitely intrigued at least enough to see what's going on. Especially like you said with Keanu Reeves doing something in one of his films. That's going to be interesting. So have it on my list as well. Amanda, it's your turn. What do you have at number 7?
My first Tammy pick.
Your first Tammy pick?
Here's Ghostbusters.
Tammy to the Electric Boogaloo.
Does that mean there's more than one Tammy pick coming? I'm sorry, what did you say? Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters, yeah. I'm actually looking forward to seeing the female cast of this. And I was always a super fan of Ghostbusters, and it scared the crap out of me when I was little. And I'm hoping that these bitches can do it justice.
All right, I'm down for it. I probably also need to rewatch the Ghostbusters films. I mean, I've seen them multiple times, but I haven't. The last time I saw them was a long time ago, so I want to catch back up with that beforehand just to kind of see what other references they make. But I'm definitely interested to see where they go with this.
Is there going to be? I'm yawning.
This is your second Chris Hemsworth pick in a row.
Dude, fucking Hemsworth's going to be in this?
We got to move it up higher now, so.
Oh, wait!
Yeah,
he's replacing
the
Janine.
Receptionist, yeah.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
We have to adjust Amanda's list now. So.
But are they going to have, like, a Slimer character in this?
I'm sure there's going to be a ghost of some sort.
Well,
I don't know if it'll be...
He's not a ghost.
Some busting and some ghosts.
Some busting of those ghosts.
All right, so number 7 for you is Ghostbusters. Number 7 for me, I guess... I'm anticipating the world of animation this year because I have another animated pick, one I had no idea even existed until doing the research for this one. It's not any of the ones we talked about in
Kubo and the Two Strings?
It is Kubo
and
the Two Strings. So it's not any of the ones that we talked about with their box office. And I originally just put Kubo film because I didn't know what it was called. But Kubo and the Two Strings, it's got Matthew McConaughey, Charlize Theron again, Rooney Mara, Ralph Fiennes. And it's just, I'm not going to go over the whole plot synopsis, but that's really what sold it on me. Just kind of that aesthetic that it's going for. It seems like something that would be pretty interesting.
The animation in the trailer looks super intense and super cool.
And I haven't actually even seen the trailer, so...
It's a different
Did you do research? You watched trailers?
What? Amanda did some freaking research?
I'm impressed.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I had to eliminate Neon Demon, because I couldn't even find, like, a poster of it. That's some things that disqualify. If I can't find a trailer or a poster, I'm out of there. Yeah. But the animation looked slightly different, and I liked it. I'm on board.
Yeah, and Dan, this one was on your list as well.
Yeah, it's by the Laika studio who did Paranorman, also Coraline and The Box Trolls. The Box Trolls was, I wouldn't say disappointment. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't to me the same level of Paranorman and Coraline. But that has me really intrigued about it as well. I love stop motion animation. So even The Box Trolls looked fantastic, even if I thought it was a little too dry. So
I really enjoyed Coraline. Paranorman, I liked it, and I liked the look of it, but I think that it stepped it up a notch. It's definitely more intense, and it's got its own look, too.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, for sure. I'm just intrigued on this one. And like I said, this was on Dan's list as well, and I actually stole his pick, so you can steal my pick because it's also on your list. So we'll switch number 7. So what do you have?
Yeah, so next for me is La La Land, which sounds just fun to say. And it's
probably where I'm at in half the podcast.
Nice.
It's by director and writer Damien Chazelle, who burst on the scene 2 years ago now with Whiplash, and it's apparently I don't know if it's a full-on musical or just about a jazz pianist. I'm not sure, but it's starring Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling, J.K. Simmons is coming back, who obviously last time he partnered with Damien Chazelle, he won an Oscar. So I mean, I loved Whiplash so much. Seeing him doing another story that centers around music has me again super intrigued, really looking forward to it. So, and Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone together, I'm really interested in seeing how well they work with like a tandem.
And this is obviously, like I said, on my list as well. I had it at number 17 overall. Whiplash was my number 1 film in 2014. So obviously, if he's back doing something else, and especially with Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling, and kind of that setup, I don't know exactly which direction they're going with it, like you said, but it's enough to be something that's on my radar and looking for more information about it. So, yeah, I am in step with you there with La La Land. So sorry for stealing your thunder on Kubo.
Yeah, of course. I forgot. I realized that last time we saw Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, they were in Crazy Stupid Love, and they were great together. So it's fun to see them kind of come back.
Yeah, for sure. So. Especially kind of as probably the main stars here. And I mean, not that they weren't main, I guess, in Crazy Stupid Love, but it was more of an ensemble piece. All right, Amanda, we're back to you for your number 6 pick.
I've got Star Trek Beyond. I think I love this cast. I don't care if the Trekkies are super pissed about it. Does it look like a Star Trek film? I don't care. I'm going to see it. I'm going to love it. I'm going to have fun with it.
Let's hope this doesn't get messy.
This is where it begins, Captain. This is where the frontier pushes back. What the hell is this?
I know why you're here. Why we are all here.
Okay, let's never do that again.
I dig this whole world that they got going on. I love the style. I love all the color. I love the mix of humor and some serious, intense action sequences. I'm really excited for another installment of this.
Yeah, I am. This was on my list too at number 30. I am slightly, I guess, the only thing that's keeping me from putting it up a little bit is Justin Lin as the director. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to translate, but there's a lot of other people that are kind of in the creative control there of that franchise and calling some shots too and influencing it. But my main reason for being excited, not only do I love Star Trek in general, but Idris Elba joining the cast there, especially in the villainous role, is what I think he's been rumored to play. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but that has me intrigued. That's a late July release, so Star Trek Beyond is definitely something that I'm looking forward to as well. All right, so that means it's back to me. I'll try not to steal Dan's pick this time. I'm looking at too many lists here. I actually have a tie for my number 6 pick, and this is probably going to shock you a little bit, Dan, because when I was going through my list, I cheated so I could get more on my list when I was doing my top 100, and anytime there was a director with 2 films, I put them in the same spot.
Nice.
So here.
Don't say shit about me cheating.
I wasn't. So the tie that kind of finds its way onto my list, and it's not confirmed whether these are both going to actually come out in 2015 or 2016, or not. But it is the combination of Knight of Cups and Weightless from Terrence Malick.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is the year that I'm going to give him his shot. I might never watch another one of his films after this year, but I'm giving him his shot this year because it's the cast ensembles and everything about these 2 films are too much to not at least kind of make you pay attention and get on the edge of your seat a little bit. So
what was The Knight of Cups about?
It's hard to say what either of these films is probably going to be about, but it's a screenwriter that is in Los Angeles and dealing with the Hollywood system and stuff like that.
Blah, blah, sounds boring.
Anyways, the cast, Christian Bale, Natalie Portman, Cate Blanchett, Ben Kingsley, Dane DeHaan.
I'm cool with Dane DeHaan.
Joel Kinnaman, Jason Clarke. Now, some of these people have said that they might not actually end up in the final cut of the film.
Yeah, that's Terrence Malick for you. Like, it's
so,
just cut people out in the entire movie.
Yeah, I think there was, I can't remember if it was Christian Bale or somebody that was like, there's little to no chance I end up in the main thing because I only shot for like 15 days or something like that. So I guess if you're only shooting for 15 days, you probably don't make the final cut with his films. I don't know. But the other one, Weightless, 2 intersecting love triangles, obsession and betrayal set against the music scene in Austin, Texas. A musical drama, again, starring Ryan Gosling. Apparently he's doing some music stuff this year. Again, Christian Bale, Cate Blanchett, Rooney Mara, Natalie Portman, Val Kilmer, Michael Fassbender, Benicio del Toro. Those are the names connected with it. Again, who knows if those people are all actually going to end up in the film.
If they do, it's going to blow my mind.
Yeah, so, I mean, those 2 films, as long as one of them comes out, that's the other reason for me pairing them up, because it's also Terrence Malick, and you never know if they're actually going to come out this year. So I figured if I put 2 of them in there, there's a good shot that at least one of them actually does come out. And I know Knight of Cups is scheduled for a March release, so that one's probably pretty sure. I don't know if we'll get Weightless towards the end of the year or not, but it would be interesting. He doesn't do films back-to-back, so to have 2 of his films in a year would be pretty interesting.
Yeah,
so
it would be surprising. So.
Yeah, so I'm going to put them both at my number 6 and hope that my shot of giving him a shot this year ends up with 2 films that I enjoy. So, all right, Dan, what do you got at number 6?
Number 6, I have The Circle, which is directed by James Ponsolett, starring Emma Watson, Tom Hanks, John Boyega of Star Wars fame, also Patton Oswalt and Bill Paxton.
That's something we can say now.
Yeah.
Star Wars fame with 3 people.
Exactly. And Emma Watson is the lead here. It's based upon a book by Dave Eggers, and she is a woman who lands a powerful job at the tech industry where she gets involved with this mysterious man who seems like will be played by Tom Hanks. So I'm interested in seeing like that relationship of a Tom Hanks and Emma Watson. And
I'm actually creeped out by that.
Yeah,
super bad.
It's but I think it's seeing Tom Hanks in more of a seems almost like a villainous role, which he doesn't do very often. So
pedo role, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, there, perfect. But also.
He's taking lessons from Cosby and shit.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. No, we can't lose Tom Hanks. We can't lose Tom Hanks
Yeah.
too. We can't lose Tom Hanks too.
No, we've already lost too many people.
But it's also coming from the director who brought us Spectacular Now, which I really enjoyed that movie, and last year's The End of the Tour, which actually I enjoyed as well. That movie really impressed me, and for a number of reasons. I did not think I would enjoy it, but it was really good use of conversation, and it was a pretty impressive directing job, considering that it's really just these 2 guys talking, but he was able to keep it quite interesting. So I really, considering all that's involved, maybe really hoping that he can continue that streak with The Circle. And I did not read the book it's based off, I tend to kind of try not to because I'd rather just watch the movie because there's less words. So hopefully,
me too.
Sometimes, yeah.
But yeah, I had this one on my list too. It was number 28. I think it's a one. We talked about all the different things that can affect putting a movie on your list or not. And I think this has a little of all of them. It's a little bit of the director, it's a little bit of the cast, a little bit of the synopsis, like you said. Tom Hanks in more of a villainous role possibly, and yeah, it has me intrigued. And I like The Spectacular Now as well. So I had this one on my list as well. Amanda, what do you got at number 5?
Another Keanu movie getting thrown up here, John Wick 2.
And this is, I haven't seen anything as far as an actual release date on this one. I don't know if it's for sure going to be 2016 or not.
Oh, don't tell me that.
But I hope it is. And so obviously you were a fan of the original John Wick, so you're just looking forward to seeing more in that world?
Yeah, he was such an utter badass. I mean, I can't get over the fact that you can scare the shit out of somebody over the phone by not even saying anything. I mean, he just wrecks so many people in that movie, and I just want to see more of that world that he lives in. Yeah, I'm back. And he better come back this year with John Wick 2.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that would be interested to see that. A lot of people like the world and the universe that was kind of created in that first film, and I'm interested to see where they go from there. And especially, I think it has most of the people that were involved in the first one returning for the second one, from what I can tell. So that should bode well for it.
And he got a dog that ain't no joke this time, so...
That's the question. What's going to be the influence this time?
He's back. He doesn't need it anymore. He doesn't need any more reason than that. He's back. He's in the game again.
It's like a Twitter war that starts it.
Somebody said something about his dead
dog.
Yeah. Sorry, spoiler, I guess, for John Wick.
For a movie that's not done filming yet. So.
But, yeah, my number 5 pick is actually going to be the film Passengers, which we talked about slightly, I think, in honorable mentions when we were talking about our box office predictions, because it might be something that gained some legs late in the year. But obviously this is the science fiction film by Morton Tildum, who did The Imitation Game, starring Jennifer Lawrence, Chris Pratt, and Michael Sheen. But, I mean, it's really Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt in space. I mean, that seems like an interesting pair.
Pigs in space.
No, not pigs in space. But yeah, they wake up early from their cryogenic sleep, and there's a love story, and it's space.
No, the guy wakes up, and then he decides to wake the chick up. So
he's like looking at all the other passengers, and is like, let's wake this one.
Yeah. I choose you. Come on down. It's like a futuristic Adam and Eve kind of feel, and I had that on my list too. What number was it on my true list?
On your list, it was number, I have no idea. Because,
it's early up.
Number 20.
Okay.
Yeah, it was number 20 on yours. It was number 13 on my overall list. But yeah, I just think the combination of Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence, and then it's in space and sci-fi, and I love science fiction and that type of setting, so I'm on board.
That sells it for me.
Yeah. Dan, what do you got next?
Well, my next, I'm hoping I'm going to pronounce this correctly. I'm not really sure. It's Comanchera, maybe, I'm not sure. Directed by David Mackenzie, written by Taylor Sheridan, starring Chris Pine, Ben Foster, Jeff Bridges, among others. And two big reasons I am really looking forward to this. It's coming from the director of Start Up, which was one of my favorite films from 2 years ago. I was kind of blown away with that movie. It was really my favorite film of that year until I saw her. And it's also written by Taylor Sheridan, and you may be like, who is that? Well, last year he wrote one of the best movies of the year with Sicario. So obviously Sicario benefited from some great direction, but it was also a screenplay. So seeing that talent kind of come together, and with a cast that includes Jeff Bridges and Ben Foster and Chris Pine, I kind of think there's a lot of potential here. It's about a divorced dad who is in his ex-con brother who have to resort to a desperate scheme in order to save their family's farm in Texas. So not sure what that necessarily entails per se, but it
sounds dangerously close to American Heist.
Or maybe if you have the same writer that's doing Sicario and we're back near the border with Texas Rangers and whatnot, maybe he will be able to recapture that intensity, edge of the seat type of stuff there. I agree with you, Dan. I have this one in my top 40, so I was looking forward to this one too, mainly because of the director of Startup and just kind of that whole vibe to it seems like it'd be something that could be intriguing. So,
Very nice.
All right. So, Amanda, we're back to you now for your number 4.
Number 4 is X-Men Apocalypse.
You wander through the willows in the forest you have found.
I've been called many things over many lifetimes.
Trying to hide.
Ra, Krishna, Yahweh. Everything they've built will fall! And from the ashes of their world, we'll build a better one! I've never felt power like this before.
I don't care what you guys say about Apocalypse. He might look kind of cheesy and weird, but I didn't read the comics, so I'm kind of okay with it. I'm really, really interested to see Oscar Isaac in this kind of super characterized villain role, because I think he's an awesome bad guy, and I'm hoping that it's going to play into, or come into effect here and shine through as a really good villain. And anything X-Men, mutants, I'm like, yeah, I'm there.
But by rule, this film has Oscar Isaac and Michael Fassbender, so it is also on my list.
Even just watching the trailer for Mojave with him in it, I'm like, this guy is nuts, and I cannot wait to see him in some villain roles.
Yeah, I had this at in my top 20, so I think it was number 15 for me. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to all the comic book films. I'm a huge X-Men fan. I love Days of Future Past. When that movie was coming out, it was my most anticipated movie of the year. I don't know, I just have this worried feeling when I watch it. I actually don't mind the look of Apocalypse. He's actually one of my favorite villains, and I think he did him as well enough, but it feels like one too many. I don't know. Like, I had nothing to base that off of, really, because I think the trailer looks okay, but it's just, I guess I'm just a little hesitant based upon that. So I guess I'm going in pessimistic. Hopefully that'll be there you go. You'll be the one that's you have the best experience, because you won't be disappointed that way.
Well, this movie doesn't suck? Yes!
For my number 4 pick, again, I have no release date on this one, so who knows when it's going to come out. I'm pretty sure it's already done, though, so hopefully we'll actually get to see it in 2016. And for my number 4, we're going with a crime drama again. You put Michael Fassbender and Brendan Gleeson together, I am signing up. And that is Trespass Against Us. A man looks to find a way to escape the criminal ways of his outlaw family. And the only image or anything I can find on this is an image.
Brendan Gleeson grabbing the shit out of Michael Fassbender's face.
Grabbing Michael Fassbender's face, and they're like nose to nose, and I'm just like, yes, give me that. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't know when it's coming out, but I want to see those two in this film together and see what happens.
One word, intense.
Yeah, Trespass Against Us. Remember that name, and hopefully we'll get to see it in 2016. That is also on Amanda's list. You had that one at your number 29, so just making your top 30 as well.
Yeah, it was on my list as well, and it was also on my list last year as well, too. So
you don't want to get burned twice.
Yeah, but yeah, Brendan Gleeson and Michael Fassbender, that pretty much has me excited to see them together. So,
absolutely. All right, Dan, what do you got at your number 4?
My number 4 is...
we also had on our list last year.
It was, again, another...
This is actually this was one of our common picks last year between you, JD, and myself.
Yes.
We all had it on our list.
From an up-and-coming director called Martin Scorsese. May have heard of him. Starring Adam Driver, Liam Neeson, and Andrew Garfield in Silence. A story that centers on 2 priests in Japan and kind of the prosecution that they underwent. And yes, obviously it's Scorsese. There was a chance this movie was coming out last year, or it isn't, but, all you have to tell me is Martin Scorsese, I'm there. It does seem like it's, him getting away from the gangster flick, which he's done plenty of times, but I'm really curious to see Liam Neeson in a more, acting role, and he's not taking anyone or being taken.
It's going back to a real film. So the images of Liam Neeson that have surfaced from the film are incredible.
Yeah.
So I am definitely signing up for that one as well. I mean, it's a historical drama. I'm, of course, going to be on board. But, yeah, I had this one on my list as well. You just had it slightly higher. I have it number 10 overall for me.
Yeah, so I'm super looking forward to it. I'm just hoping it comes out this year. So.
Absolutely. Amanda, it's time for the top 3. What are you going with first?
Oh man, getting down to the nitty-gritty here. I've got Batman versus Superman.
Everybody's all going to be shocked that we're having all these comic book films that aren't common amongst all 3 of us, but why Batman versus Superman?
I've been waiting forever for this to come out. I want it to happen now. I think I was even more excited for this than Star Wars last year. I think that it's such a cool pairing, and it's an epic showdown. I think that Wonder Woman looks too friggin' skinny for an Amazon in little, but I'm hoping that she can, pull her weight. And I think that just the style and look of it, I can tell it's going to be a lot more gritty. I'm just ready.
Well, if you're trying to keep tabs at home as to who's not voting on these films to keep them from being on our trio of common films, Dan left X-Men off, and I'm the one that left Batman versus Superman off. So Dan,
I'm carrying this shit.
Dan, you had this one at number 29, so obviously you're looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and not looking forward to it. That I'm looking forward to it. I go on a lot of different. I'm going to see it. Obviously, there's a lot of hesitation I have with it, but then it's like, it's Batman and Superman. It could be great, and I think Ben Affleck could actually make a good Batman. He was Superman too, but I don't know. I think it's a movie that's just been anticipated for such a long time. It's feel like we need a new word for it, because we've been talking about it for such a while. But I'm glad it's coming out in March. We don't have to wait for it till the summer. And
right.
I know I like.
Don't have to see the previous 8,000 times, only 800.
Exactly. I do feel the trailers did ruin it a great deal because they did kind of give away too much. But hopefully, maybe that's not the case, and there's more to it than that. But
yeah, with a film like that, you don't need to show us anything. You just show a Batman and then show Superman and
looking at each other.
Yeah, and then that's
grabbing each other's face.
I feel like that's what they're doing now because it's watching football. Those are the trailers, which was just them going at it, and that's all you really needed to do. But
what I'm looking forward to about this film is when it actually is released, what then will become the film that everybody goes bananas about for the next year or two after that? So what's going to fill that void that was every other week rumor of Batman versus Superman? So
Cyborg. No.
Okay, is Gambit not coming out this?
It's not confirmed. So my guess is it's going to try to avoid the other 6 comic book films that are coming out this year.
It hasn't started filming yet, so I would assume it's probably not coming out this year.
Didn't I have that on my box office predictions?
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to go back and listen. We talked about a lot of films. For my number 3 pick, I'm actually surprised that this is on my list and not Amanda's. I guess I ranked it slightly higher. And again, maybe there's a theme for my list because it's another Michael Fassbender film, and that is Assassin's Creed.
I have it on mine too.
You do have it on you had it at number 10, but I had it at number 4. So
you don't even know about
I
the
don't
game.
need to know anything about the game.
You're just like,
I see Michael Fassbender in this hood, and it's Assassin's Creed is the title.
Oh my
lord! I actually do like the Assassin's Creed games from what I've seen. I have never played any of them, but I like when you were getting stuck. But I like the idea of the story behind Assassin's Creed and kind of the whole thing of the historical aspect of it. This also has Jeremy Irons, Brendan Gleeson, and Marion Cotillard. So cast, plot, everything, Christmas, action adventure, I'm down.
I do think it's funny the guy who directed it, last movie he did was Macbeth. Now he's doing a video game movie. It's got to be impressive to go from Shakespeare to a video game. But
he still has the same 2 people that he had in Macbeth.
So. Yeah, I know. I mean, it makes sense because, Assassin's Creed does have that same type of feel, within the period piece. But
this time people will actually be able to understand what they're saying.
Yeah, I'm hesitant with traffic in video game movies. That just has me hesitant. That's why I didn't rank it.
I'm going all in and saying that this is going to be the first actual decent video game film.
Whoa, did you see House of the Dead?
What? No. Okay, Dan, what do you got at your number 3?
At my number 3, I have probably one of my favorite action franchises of all time. Well, at least the first 3 movies, and that is, currently the untitled Matt Damon Jason Bourne sequel that's coming out this year. Both Matt Damon and Paul Greengrass are returning. At first, I didn't want this movie to happen because I felt Ultimatum left at the perfect spot. I didn't think Legacy needed to happen. Didn't really like that a great deal, but I kind of turn around on it. I'm really excited to see Greengrass back to this franchise. Really excited to see Matt Damon come back to the character of Jason Bourne. The movies, for me, got better and better. The Supremacy and Ultimatum, if that track record continues, it could be great. So I have high hopes for the next Bourne movie, whatever it will be.
It's in my top 40 as well, coming out late July, and interesting too, joining or also involved in this besides Matt Damon. Obviously, you have Julia Stiles returning as she was in the other films, and then you have Tommy Lee Jones and Alicia Vikander in this version.
Who apparently is required to be in every other movie now. So.
Yeah, it is pretty much that's the case. But yeah, I think I would be looking forward to this even more if I hadn't been soured by the last Bourne. I know we're probably not going to count that. It's going to be like the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls of the Bourne franchise. But hopefully they can recapture what they had in those first 3 films, because those films are absolutely amazing and fun to watch. So yeah, I'm hoping that one's good as well. Amanda, number 2 time. What do you got?
Independence Day Resurgence. Boy, I have been waiting for this for a long time. I'm a little sad that Will Smith isn't in it, but I get it. And he's just dragging shit down lately. I just can't let him drag this down too. We got Jeff Goldblum. That's all we fucking need.
And Bill Pullman, and not Chris Hemsworth, but Liam Hemsworth.
The other Hemsworth, which I am not sad about whatsoever. I will take a Hemsworth, whichever one you're going to give me, except for that creepy one that was in... Well, what movie was that?
It was like
space movie.
It was a terrible, not...
We don't even...
It was like a Walmart $1 movie that he was in. It was terrible.
Yeah. It was
Infinity,
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that dude's name is. I put it out of my head.
The Luke Hemsworth?
Yeah, something like that.
Is he actually... Is he like a third cousin, or...
I don't even know.
Probably, because I think all the good-looking genes went to those guys. And then, skip generation, and the middle child was just... fugly and just in the crappy movies.
I think he's the oldest brother, but I could be wrong.
Whatever.
I have no idea. I'm not up on the Hemsworth family tree.
Skip
I guess.
that generation, okay?
But yeah, I mean, this was in my top. I think it's right around my number 35. Dan, you had this at your number 30.
Those aliens, though, they're legit. As comical as it might have been in the '96. Did it come out in '96? The '90s version, we'll say. They took over. They wrapped their little tentacles around
and they're bigger now.
People's necks and were controlling them, talking through them and stuff. They were no joke, dude.
Ship.
I'm not even really sure how we fucked them up as bad as we did in the first one. But just
man, Will Smith in the 90s.
That's why.
There's nothing he couldn't do.
Dragging a motherfucker through the desert, kicking them and stuff. But I think that it's going to be super legit and probably kind of creepy, and it's definitely a formidable sci-fi flick.
I'm just looking forward to seeing the presidential speech in full.
Today you will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day when the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight.
Fall back!
We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate.
God, that gives me goosebumps still to this day, no matter how many times I've heard it.
All right. Any other comments about Independence Day, Amanda? She's looking at me crazy. All right. So my number 2 actually wasn't on either of you guys' list, so I guess I'm alone on this one, and it is simply probably because of the picture of the movie poster, and I guess I did not realize how many Brendan Gleeson, Michael Fassbender, and Matthew McConaughey films I had on my list, but I'm going with Free State of Jones which is a May action drama set during the Civil War. That's all you had to say, and I signed up for it. The Free State of Jones tells the story of a defiant Southern farmer and his extraordinary armed rebellion against the Confederacy. Matthew McConaughey, I'm not going to try to say her name, Kerry Russell, and Brendan Gleeson. Also directed by Gary Ross, who did the first 2 Hunger Games and Pleasantville, which I'm somewhat of a fan of those films. So, yeah, but the movie poster with Matthew McConaughey on it is incredible, and it's set in the Civil War, so that's one of my favorite historical periods. So Free State of Jones, I'm in 100%.
I struggled with putting this on my list. It almost made it. I think it's farther down into the
40s or 50s.
40s or 50s on my list.
Fair enough. All right, Dan, what do you got at number 2?
At number 2, I have Story of Your Life, which is directed by Denis Villeneuve and starring Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, and Forrest Whitaker, among a few others as well. To me, Denis Villeneuve has been kind of kicking butt as of late, from Incendies to Prisoners to last year with Sicario. He's been kind of on fire, making a really intense, great films that are both entertaining, thrilling, and just well-directed all around. So because of that, it has me excited for whatever he's going to do next, and seeing him working with a cast that includes Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner. Hopefully, he can get a similar performance out of Amy Adams that he did with Emily Blunt. And to me, Amy Adams is like one of the best working actresses of today. So I'm really excited to see them together in a movie. It does seem a little different in regarding what it's about. It's taking place after an alien craft lands around the world. An expert linguist is recruited by the military to determine whether they come in peace or a threat. So getting into a different genre for him, because he's never really done science fiction before. But, I think he has a potential to kind of see what he can do with a movie like that. So.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, too, the number of directors that are kind of on our radar, the up-and-coming ones, or the ones that have kind of put out some good films over the last, whatever it is, 2, 3, 4 years, that are all doing like a sci-fi or a horror film this year. Like, we talked about James Ponsel, who had done Spectacular Now, doing a sci-fi film. We talked about someone just a little bit ago that was doing the horror film now. And now we got, Denis Villeneuve doing the sci-fi film.
What was that?
Villeneuve.
That was the weirdest thing.
But yeah, I'm interested to see what he does in the science fiction realm. And Amy Adams and Forrest Whitaker. I'm not huge on Jeremy Renner, but he doesn't usually bother me. It's not like he takes away from the film. I'm just never...
Until you look at his hands.
Yeah, don't get Hyro started about his nubby hands. Gross. Or whatever it is.
I didn't even notice it until you told me about that.
We've
and now I'm totally creeped out.
But what were you going to say?
I think I have this farther down on my list, 40s and 50s, somewhere in there. I think the premise sounds super cool. Not as cool as Independence Day Resurgence, but still super cool.
Still science fiction. I have it at number 29, so I'm definitely in agreement with this one. I'm interested to see what Denis does next. So that means there's only one spot left on our unique list. Amanda, what do you have at number 1?
I think on my true list...
So somehow so fitting.
So fucking fitting. It worked out perfectly that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them fits in at my number 1 on this list. It did not make number 1 on my true list. I'm just scared to love it too much. I've read the book that it's based off of, and it's not a story. It's just a collection of... It's almost like a little encyclopedia. It's one of the school books from Harry Potter, one of the school books that him and his classmates use. And I'm surprised that they chose that one to go with as far as a spin-off goes, but I think it's going to be super cool. I'm hoping Eddie Redmayne just gets his Brit on and does some cool stuff.
And doesn't yell.
Yeah, I'm not sure. As Newt Scamander, and I think that all these cool creatures, I hope they put a ton in there and do them super well, as I know they tend to do in the Harry Potter verse.
Yeah, and it does have the director returning who did the last 4 Harry Potter films, so it should...
David Yates.
Yeah, David Yates. So it should be in that same feel and in the same... He should be able to kind of translate that. He's got 2 films coming out this year, too. He's also doing Legend of Tarzan. I'm so interested that he's doing kind of 2 big-budget fantasy films. It does. So, yeah.
What's up with Sam Jackson pairing up with these crazy white
Well, I mean, Sam Jackson is in every movie, so it's not to be a surprise. But yeah, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, very appropriate that it is your number 1 pick. And for my number 1 pick, it is actually also my number 1 overall pick, and that is, call me a sucker, but the live-action Disney film, The Jungle Book. And there's just something about this that has me. I loved the Jungle Book growing up. I love some of those characters, and I always wanted to see them kind of in a more realistic, more not necessarily serious look, but I think we're getting it with this one. You know, we have Jon Favreau as the director. You got Bill Murray, Idris Elba, Ben Kingsley, Scarlett Johansson, Christopher Walken. I mean, come on. It's coming out in April, and that trailer or teaser, or whatever you want to call it, with everything that's going on, and then with Baloo kind of whistling as he's floating down the river.
Are you alone out here? What are you doing so deep in the jungle? Don't you know what you are? I know what you are. I know where you came from. Poor, sweet little cub. I'll keep you close. Let go of your fear now.
I'm sold. So sign me up for this one in April. I will be seeing it opening weekend.
I had this on my list too, not as high as you. I forget exactly where, but I do think it looks really good, and I'm usually don't get too excited for the Disney live action ones, but this one seems a little bit different to me. Maybe it's just having Jon Favreau attached and the voice talent, but I don't know. I think it could be quite good. So I'm anticipating this one as well.
Yeah, and Amanda, you had it at number 21 on your list, so not too far off.
No.
All right, Dan, only one more pick before we get into our common choices. What do you have at number 1?
My number 1 is also my number 1 overall, and it was, I think, my number 2 last year, so hopefully it actually comes out this year. And it's Richard Linklater, who I'm a sucker for a Richard Linklater movie, and it's Everybody Wants Some. It's apparently supposed to be a spiritual successor or sequel, or what you have to Dazed and Confused about, basically not teenagers, but college-level kids and a baseball team kind of just going through life in a day. And I love one-day films. I love Linklater movies and just like their simplicity in what he can bring to them. So simply because of that, I'm super excited. I love Boyhood. I love Before Midnight. That trilogy, and Dazed and Confused to me is also an all-time classic. So if it can, there's a lot it has to live up to, but if it can go through with it, I think it could be one of the best movies of the year. So.
Yeah, I haven't I haven't ever actually compiled like a top 100 film of all time for me personally yet. Something on my to-do list, but I'm pretty sure Dazed and Confused would find its way on that top 100 somewhere. I loved Dazed and Confused. Maybe it was just the time it came out and how old I was at that point or whatever, but I'm interested to see how much they can kind of recapture that feel and kind of translate from the high school setting now to the college setting. And a baseball team, I mean, I'm down for that.
You don't already have a top 100 list of all time?
No.
Maybe a lot
surprising
cooler if you did.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So, yeah, Everybody Wants Some was on my list. You said that like almost like you were trying to be Matthew McConaughey from Dazed and Confused.
I did. It's on purpose. I just wanted to ask the fucking question.
Sorry.
So I set it up.
All right, my bad.
Didn't even laugh as much as I wanted to.
But I had this one on my list as well. It was number 14 for me, so definitely in agreement with you on that one, Dan. All right, that means it's time for the 8 films. It somehow always ends up to be somewhere in the 7 to 10 range. I think we had 9 last year, 10 the year before, so we're at 8 this time that we all had in common. Some that you could probably predict, and a couple that are going to be somewhat interesting. And the way we rank these then is I just took how each one of us had it rated and took an average, so that's why that'll kind of determine the order that we go. So number 8 for us on our common list is a film called The Light Between Oceans. And that film, you had, Amanda, at 30, so just barely making all 3 of our lists. I had it at 11, and Dan, you had it at 25. This one is from Derek Cianfrance? I don't know how to say his name, but the director of Beyond the Pines, which was
my shit. Yeah.
Which is your shit, I guess, is how we're going to say it. Also, Blue Valentine. Hey, guess what? Starring Michael Fassbender. Is he in 30 movies this year? I don't get it. Alicia Vikander. Oh, she is too.
Well, he's got to make his money, dude.
And Rachel Weisz, set on an island off the coast of Western Australia after World War I. The lighthouse keeper and his wife find a 2-month-old girl and a dead body in a rowboat. And
that sounds like Blue Lagoon. Just saying.
There's drama and morality questions raised throughout. So, Dan, why was this one that was on your list?
Like you said, coming from the director of Blue Valentine and Place Beyond the Pines, again, another good cast. So that kind of just had me interested. I think it has some talent involved. So the premise of it, I'll be honest, is not super intriguing to me, but I'm hoping that, it's something that once you actually see the trailer, it sounds a lot better than the synopsis.
And then I'm pretty sure, I haven't researched this, but this is based on a book, I believe, and I have not read that book, so I have no idea about any of the plot or story. But yeah, the director and the cast is what had me on this one. Amanda, what was the selling point for you on this one?
Yeah, definitely the same for me too. The plot, like I said, sounds like Blue Lagoon, sort of. Not too fancy with it, but I'm excited to see the dynamic of those players.
All right. Our number 7 pick for common films, Amanda, you had it ranked 18. I had it number 25. Dan, you had it number 7, and that would be the film Midnight Special. Dan, I'll let you lead the way on this one.
Well, it's coming from Jeff Nichols and starring Michael Shannon, who's just like the last time they got together was Take Shelter, which I know Shannon gave a phenomenal performance in that. So that has me super excited to what they can do again with one another. And again, it's another director that is going into a science fiction realm.
Another one.
Yeah, with the idea of this young child who has some sort of special powers, and that's really all we really know about the synopsis. There is a trailer out, which I have not seen, but again, seeing Jeff Nichols, who's not really known for movies like that, kind of going into something new has me wondering, how exactly it's going to work. But I have faith. I think it could be quite good.
Yeah, I have seen the trailer, and again, science fiction, a pretty good cast, and I haven't seen Take Shelter yet, but I loved Mud, so I'm intrigued on this one. Another director that possibly could have 2 films coming out this year, maybe not, and the one probably will get bumped, but he also has one, I think that's going around with the title Loving right now, which also has Michael Shannon and Joel Edgerton in it. That one's supposed to be a drama, 1958 Virginia setting, so it'd be interesting to see if he has 2 films come out or not, but I'm definitely intrigued by Midnight Special and where that's going. Amanda, what was the selling point for you on this one?
Sci-fi, cool stuff happening.
Lights.
Yeah, some cool lights. Kid's got some goggles on, but
shoots lasers from his eyes.
I want to see more with Joel Edgerton in it. I think that The Gift really sold him, or for me, and I think that seeing him in a cool sci-fi flick is right up my alley. So,
all right. Number 6, common pick for all of us here. We all had it somewhat similar here, I guess. Amanda, you had it at 22. Dan, you had it at 14, and I had it at 12. And that would be the film that's coming out a little bit later. This one is coming out soon, or else they're already showing previews for it way early. But that is Nice Guys.
Who is it?
Messenger service. Mr. March, we're gonna play a game. I think you have the wrong house. It's called Shut Up Unless You're Me. I love that game. You're a private investigator?
Just $20 in there, all right? Just take it.
No, I told you. I'm not here for that. I'm a messenger. Give me your left arm.
No!
Yeah, come on.
No!
When you're talking to your doctor,
No!
you tell him you have a spiral fracture.
No!
Deep breath.
Obviously, from director of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Which is one of my faves.
Well, go ahead then.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
No, not about Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but go ahead again about Nice Guys. Yeah, Shane Black. Why are you on board?
Well, plus Ryan Gosling. Just saying. Come on now. But I think that I'm digging the gritty humor and the dynamic between Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe.
Yeah, Russell Crowe.
I think that it's a fun premise. I mean, you pay this guy to go and put the hurt down on some people for you, and I think it's going to have some cute stuff, especially with Ryan Gosling and his daughter and that relationship and stuff too. So
Yeah, it actually doesn't come out till May. I don't know why I was thinking it comes out already, but probably because they're already showing previews in theaters.
I think it looks, witty and...
Yeah. Dan, we were not just fans of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but we were also higher than a lot of people on Iron Man 3 as well. So is it just the director, or have you seen the trailer for The Nice Guys?
I did see it in the theater as well. I forget when I went to... I think when I went to see Star Wars.
Yeah, I think so too.
And also I'm big fan of private eye stories and also period piece that could be interesting in the 1970s. Solid cast, and yeah, I'm a huge fan of Shane Black. I love his humor, and I'm happy to see him kind of go back to this genre again. I thought Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, like Amanda said, was quite good, and if it's nearly as good as that, it could be quite funny. So that had me listed rather high.
All right. Well, that probably does it for the ones that you might not have been able to predict. I think we'll be somewhat predictable the rest of the way through here with our franchise choices. But our number 5 pick in common would be none other than Doctor Strange. Amanda, why Doctor Strange ranking on your top 30?
I don't even know shit about it. I just know there's going to be some fantastical...
Well, you should be right on board for this because
it's got Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, it's directed by the guy that did Sinister, Exorcism of Emily Rose, Deliver Us from Evil. You've probably seen all those films.
Yes.
So, Benedict Cumberbatch, Chewie Ejiofor, Rachel McAdams, Mad Mikkelsen, Tilda Swinton. It's an incredible cast.
Tilda Swinton, yeah, I forgot that she was in that too. Anything with her in it, I'm on board. When you were talking about Hail Caesar earlier, Dan, I was like, "Hello!" in my head when she's like screaming at him.
So, Dan, we had a couple comic book films that didn't make our common list. We talked about X-Men already and Batman versus Superman. Why is Doctor Strange kind of elevated above those, at least on our list?
I think it's just because it's going to be something different from Marvel in the sense that it's going to go into like the magical realm, which is something they haven't done a great deal. I mean, Thor did in a way, but it was as much like throwback science fiction as a fantasy as it was like a magical story. So I'm interested in seeing that kind of expand the Marvel universe in that way. Again, mainly too because of the cast. The talent involved seems rather impressive, and Marvel to me has still been really consistent. Like I think even though maybe Age of Ultron wasn't better than the other Avengers or as good as maybe I hoped it would be, it still was a solid film. So I haven't watched a Marvel movie yet that I was didn't like. So I figured if they can keep that going with the talent involved, it should be a good movie.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by the cast, and I also am like, actually, Amanda, I don't know anything about Doctor Strange, but I'm just
I know he's a doctor, and I know he's
There's
strange.
actually a really good comic out right now of Doctor Strange, which I doubt it's going to be at all what the movie's like, but it's quite good. So.
Yeah, and I think what you bring up, Dan, the point of just seeing Marvel go in a direction that we haven't seen them go yet is a kind of an intriguing factor. So I think that's one reason why it's on all 3 of our list. And the next one, let's keep the comic book thing going here because our number 3 in common would be Deadpool.
Hey, yeah, I want to shoot.
Kind of lonesome back here.
A little help here.
Oh. Excuse me.
Woo! Dopinder.
Pool. Dead.
Why the fancy red suit, Mr. Poole?
Oh, that's because it's Christmas Day, Dopinder, and I'm after someone on my naughty list. You're probably thinking this was a superhero movie, but that guy in the suit just turned that other guy into a fucking kebab. Surprise. This is a different kind of superhero story.
Amanda, you had this the highest. It's your number 2 overall.
Yes, sir.
Why Deadpool?
Why not Deadpool? I think Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. That mouth, his humor, his wit, even, his body type, I think, fits it. I think that I'm a little leery of how it's going to look. I mean, we've seen the slowdown, and we've seen the shots, the slow-down shots, and, his body moving. I don't know how natural those movements are going to look with that suit and what they're doing to it, but I think that he is going to be the perfect Merc with a mouth, and I'm really excited to see a superhero movie with the R rating. I think that now's the time to do it with this character, and it's just going to be a lot of violence, which I'm totally down for. It's my movie.
And obviously we don't have to wait long. It's a early February release, so we'll be getting that real quick from the time that this one goes live. Dan, why Deadpool up as high on our list?
I know Deadpool's kind of in the comic book world been kind of played out, but I do like him. Maybe not what he has become, but this might be the only comic book movie that's actually been talked about for a longer period of time than Batman vs Superman. People have been wanting it since the original Wolverine movie, hoping, and then went away, came back, and then when they finally released that 2-minute sizzle reel or clip, it kind of sparked this thing to happen. So for me, it's just impressive seeing this movie's actually getting made. And I think I like the trailers. I think it looks fun. I think it looks funny. I like how they're kind of incorporating the X-Men a little bit in it too, just with Colossus there. So I have high hopes for it. I think it could be, and it's kind of cool seeing a comic book movie that's not about saving the world. It's just maybe more of a small story that's kind of just wacky and cool. So.
Yeah, definitely some unique takes on the traditional comic book films that we've been exposed to over the last 4 or 5 years now with Doctor Strange and with Deadpool. So definitely some unique aspects to them from people that are only getting their comic book stuff through the live action films. But we'll take a quick break from the comic book films to go from Amanda's number 2 overall to my number 2 overall, and that would be Rogue One, a Star Wars story, also on all 3 of our lists. Now, I can totally understand why it would be a little bit lower on some people's list, especially if you're going to be hesitant based on the director, Gareth Edwards, who obviously a lot of people weren't very big on Godzilla. But for me, you got Felicity Jones, Ben Mendelsohn, Mads Mikkelsen, and you got the story as far as where it's taking place. I mean, you got Star Wars, and you have actually war, dogfighting, or something to do with that. And based on Star Wars: The Force Awakens, I mean, I'm not going to bet against Star Wars, so it seems like they're going in the right direction. It's going to be interesting because obviously it's not one of the episode numbered films. It could be complete. These aren't guaranteed to be great, so hopefully Gareth Edwards doesn't F this one up, but I'm intrigued by Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Obviously, I'm a Star Wars fanboy, so it was up at number 2 on my list. Amanda, you had it at number 8. It's in your top 10.
I think that it's a different look from, the photos that I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
and I like the look of the costumes and the feel that I kind of get from it, so I'm intrigued, to say the least.
And Dan, I know we talked at this one a little bit at length when we were doing our box office predictions, so you don't necessarily have to repeat everything you said there, but obviously it fell down to number 23 on your spot. Is that more of an aspect of the fact that it's not an episode Star Wars film, or is it more about Gareth Edwards, or what was the main reason why it was going down a little bit further for you?
It's a little bit of both, honestly. I just don't know what to expect from it. It's hard to say. We've never seen something like this, a movie
right.
in Star Wars that's outside of the kind of Skywalker family, per se. Gareth Edwards, I didn't hate Godzilla as much as a lot of people. I enjoyed elements of it, but I always felt like his movies looked great, but they were always kind of hollow, and he's never got, it seems like a director who's never great at getting good performance out of his actors. Luckily, he has a really solid cast to work with Felicity Jones, Ben Mendelsohn. Those are. It's kind of hard to get them to have a bad performance from what we've seen. But that was the only reason that I didn't list it, just because I just don't know. Is there actually something here? That's my question. Is this just Marvel trying to, not Marvel, but Disney trying to, just stretch it out too far, and it's gonna feel just like a side story that didn't need to be its own movie. Because of that, and it made me rank it a little bit lower than something compared to something like episode 8.
Right. Fair enough. I think that's a logical reasoning for that. For the number 2 overall film that we all had in common, we're going to go to something we all had actually in our top 10, and that is Captain America: Civil War. Dan, you had it the highest at number 5. I'll let you start.
Yeah, I had to stop lying to myself and say, I'm really looking forward to this movie. I loved Winter Soldier so much. Seeing the Russo brothers come back has me excited. Civil War story is one of the big stories that coming back into reading comics, so excited to see them kind of take that on. Certainly it's different for the movie, but it seems to me this is like the Avengers movie we should have gotten in a lot of ways. And I've really enjoyed the trailer too, so I think there's a lot here. And seeing Black Panther finally come to the Marvel Cinematic Universe has me super excited. So I think I feel very confident in this movie that it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be nearly as good as Winter Soldier, but I think it will at least be an improvement from Age of Ultron.
Now, we talked in the box office how the inclusion of Spider-Man might be able to spike the box office a little bit with people that are huge Spider-Man fans. Do you think that plays anything into people's, as far as your interest goes, or is it more like some of the other characters like Black Panther that make it a little bit more intriguing?
I think he's going to be like a cameo at best, maybe just at the end sequence. I don't think he's going to be a major part in it whatsoever from what I'm seeing. So I don't think, it didn't impact me at all. So
me neither. I love the images of Black Panther so far that have been put out there, and then I want to see more of that. So yeah, I had it. We all had it in our top 10. I had it. Actually, Amanda, you and I both had it at number 7, so we're in lock with that. So why Captain America ahead of some of these other ones?
You know, I was torn at how high I needed to put it on my list. I think that originally I had it a little higher and I just kept bumping it down. I think that I'm super excited for it, but I definitely was burned by Avengers 2. And I just didn't feel the gravity of the stakes. And this one, I'm hoping that bringing back Bucky and the Winter Soldier, which I super fucking loved, and what I'm seeing, the action looks really intense and badass. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a resurgence for me and help ease the pain of Avengers 2.
All right. Fair enough. That means there's only one more pick that all three of us had on our list. It's also in all of our top 10. Dan, any guesses what that would be?
I don't, honestly. I can't even think of it.
All right. It is the last of the comic book films, and that is Suicide Squad.
Interesting.
Yeah, Dan, you had it at number 10. I had it at number 5. Amanda, this is your number 1.
No. I want to assemble a task force of the most dangerous people on the planet.
They're bad guys. Worst of the worst.
Too late. Open the gate. My time has come. Send shivers down my spine.
Was this cheerleading trials?
Hi, boys.
Goodbye, everybody.
Deadshot. Guy shoots people. He's a crocodile and he eats people. Burns people. You're possessed by a witch and she's just crazy.
What was that? I should kill everyone and escape? Sorry. The voices. I'm kidding. That's not what they really said.
Number 1.
So each of our number ones were on our number 1 on our unique list. Your number 1 makes the number 1 overall for In Common. Why is this number 1 on your most anticipated films of 2016?
God, this is another one that I've just been freaking out waiting to see, and I just want the wait to be over now.
Is it just because of how big of a fan of Harley Quinn you are?
I'm just really big into a lot of those villains. I love playing my Injustice game, kicks ass. I think that I've been a fan of Harley Quinn since the cartoons when I was younger. I have a ton of memorabilia, and I guess not a ton. I have quite a few pieces of memorabilia, and I think that it definitely plays into my love of her, yes, and I think if I was a DC villain, this would be me. I think I relate a little bit there, yeah, but I think the look of it, too, is super cool, and just the concept of bringing these bad guys in under these stakes, making them do some hero shit is going to be super interesting. It's got my boy in it. It's got some Jai Courtney going on. And
well, I got a question for you before Dan responds here. Have you seen the teaser yet, the trailer that has been released?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because there was actually some people in our podcast community that were actually starting to backtrack on the hate speech towards Jai Courtney.
Yes, I did see this.
A couple people said that he was the best part of that trailer.
Stole the show of the trailer.
So that is interesting.
We're looking at you, DJ Valentine.
Obviously, Will Smith, Jared Leto, Margot Robbie, Joel Kinnaman, Jai Courtney, amongst others. The other thing, Dan, that I wanted to get your reaction to, we talked about a lot of directors doing genres that we're not used to. How about David Ayer going into the comic book realm? I mean, obviously, we've seen him do stuff like Fury and End of Watch, things like that. But another director that's kind of going sci-fi/fantasy on us.
Yeah, I mean, it's seeing him. Hopefully, he has better luck with this action film than he did with something like Sabotage, which was awful. Yeah, so it's intriguing seeing him. I mean, I think that's been the norm now for Marvel and now DC, where they're getting these directors who maybe not are huge, but have done some successful films, maybe some smaller films, and made something out of them. And I'll be honest, like when I saw most of the initial stuff for Suicide Squad, I didn't like most of it. I thought it looked kind of bad, but the recent trailer really sold me. I was like, wow, it looks fun. It looks fun. It looks a little bit edgy, just the right amount. I think Will Smith actually too. I thought he was going to be kind of lifeless, but based on the trailer, it looks like he'll be the Will Smith that we used to have in movies. That one that actually made you want to go see it. So I don't know. I just think it has a lot of potential. So and I think it could end up being, this and Deadpool. I think have a lot of potential to kind of taking the comic book genre into a different realm, a little bit more adult, a little bit more risque, but still, at the end of the day, being a lot of fun.
I think the look of all the characters is super awesome. I don't think it looks cheesy at all.
Yeah, and I think I've heard the comment from a couple different people now based on the trailer and whatnot, that they do get that sense that possibly we have Will Smith returning to fun Will Smith that we knew and loved from prior days. So I think that's intriguing as well. But yeah, I think it's another one that has a slightly different twist on what we've been fed for the last 4 or 5 years in the comic book films. Throw this one in with Doctor Strange and Deadpool as just something that might be a little bit more unique for us. So I'm intrigued to see what David Ayer does with this and kind of how it all comes out. Obviously, this one is an early August release, so we'll have to wait a little bit on that one. Anything else that you didn't get to say about Suicide Squad that you wanted to get out there, Dan or Amanda?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so those are our common 8. Give you each one little shot. If there's a film out there that we didn't get to talk about that you want to bring up real quickly, Dan, is there anything on your list that we didn't get to talk about that you think deserves a mention?
Well, there is a movie coming out from Chan-wook Park, who did Stoker, Old Boy. I just didn't know if it's actually going to come out in the U.S. this year. It's called Agassi, I believe. I forget, but I love his movies. He makes some really twisted films. So hopefully that if it does come out this year, that it will. It looks like it could be good based upon his track record.
Yeah, I only had 2 in my top 30 that didn't get mentioned at some point or another. I'm somewhat intrigued about the remake of, or the whatever you want to call it, of Magnificent Seven. It's got an interesting cast, director, etc. So I'm at least intrigued, but that could be an awful film. So it's.
My only worry with that is Antoine Fuqua. To me, I don't know. As a director, I feel like he has not done really anything of note since Training Day.
Yeah. And then the other one that I had was the film Remember, which is a early February release too. I think it's been released in other areas of the world previously, and that's starring Christopher Plummer and Martin Landau. And I just think it's an interesting plot synopsis as they're trying to kind of, in their waning days, go back and get revenge against a Nazi commandant responsible for killing their families during the war. I just think there's some intrigue about that one as well, so I had it in my top 30. But Amanda, anything else that you wanted to quick mention? I know there's probably one for sure that you want to get out there for the true romance folks.
Yeah, a couple comedies that didn't really get a mention here. Central Intelligence with The Rock and Kevin Hart. I think that looks super funny. The Rock looks hilarious in that. Also Masterminds with Zach Galifianakis. I think that's going to be a trip. And The Boss, another Melissa McCarthy pick. That was number 23 on my list. I think that premise sounds super funny, and I'm excited to see her in some more stuff. Also a couple horror picks. I'm excited to see The Witch, which I think comes out pretty quick here. And then also, I think it's called On the Other Side of the Door or something like that. I think that horror flick seems pretty creepy. And
then you also had well, I guess it's more of a fantasy, but you had a Monster Calls on your list as well with Liam Neeson.
Yeah, did you see that trailer?
I did not, but
it was narrated by Liam Neeson, and he's got this really growly thing going on with his voice, and I loved it. I thought that when I was reading it, I'm like, this looks a little lame, but then when I saw the trailer, I was totally sold.
All right. Go ahead.
I forgot about one. It's because you mentioned, Amanda mentioned comedy, and it made me think of the new Todd Phillips film coming out called Arms and the Dudes, which was starring Jonah Hill and Miles Teller. I think it's a weird, based on a true story where they won $300 million to sell weapons to the Afghanistan allies. So it's I don't know. Seeing it's not Adam McKay, but Todd Phillips going after a story like that. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be his The Big Short or something like that. But it looks like it could be good.
Yeah, I have that
50.
In your top 50. It's in my top 50 or 60. I was intrigued by that one as well. Yeah, that's another one that's on the radar. So I know we talked about up front, kind of as just closing thoughts here, that there wasn't any themes that we had as far as when we were picking out our list. As we've gone over all these films and named a bunch of names and directors and genres and stuff like that, I don't know if there's any themes that have stood out for you outside of the ones we've already mentioned, Dan, but is this going to be like the year of sci-fi films?
I don't know. It's possibly because you have also the BFG coming out as well with Steven Spielberg, which we didn't talk about. So it could be. I mean, we could get another return of sci-fi, and hopefully it'll be with the movies like Hail Caesar and the movie I just mentioned. We'll maybe see actually a few good comedies this year, because I felt like this past year we had like one or two. This year it looks like we might have a chance to actually get maybe a handful, which will be great to see.
Yeah, that would be definitely a change for things. The other thing that I was seeing, too, is another genre that's usually very underrepresented in a given year is fantasy, and there is a ton of fantasy stuff coming out, too. Maybe not a ton that we were necessarily talking about today, but when I was going over my top 100 most anticipated films, there is a plethora of fantasy films coming out there, from not just your franchise films, but even some other stuff that
I have 4 fantasy movies on my list here. I'm just gonna say.
Right, but it'd be interesting to see too with the science fiction and the fantasy films if we have kind of a resurgence in either one of those genres, and instead of just having the 1 or 2 possible noteworthy films in a year, if we're going to get maybe a handful or 5 or 6, just like you're saying about comedy. So there's definitely some coming out. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. Any other themes that came up for you besides that Michael Fassbender's in half of the films this year?
The Fassbender effect, bro.
I actually just looked it up, and we got him in X-Men Apocalypse. We have him in the Trespass Against Us, The Light Between Oceans, Assassin's Creed. Those are the main ones that he's coming out, according to IMDb. So
on the interwebs.
Dan, any other last final thoughts as far as what you're looking forward to for 2016 as a film year?
No, I will say this year I didn't really have like a true number one. Like I felt like there's not like a lot of if I did this list again, I feel like it could be flip flopped, or it was hard to really rank this year. But yeah, I think it could be another great year. I feel like these last really 5 years, each year's been better than the next. So hopefully that'll continue in 2016.
All right, Amanda, you look like you were jumping at the bit to say something.
Oh, I saw something and I remembered something that I'm actually looking forward to is another Jake Gyllenhaal joint, and that's Demolition, that we've been seeing a lot of trailers for.
Yeah, I forgot to mention there was 2 films that were actually on your and my list that didn't get talked about because we had them ranked lower, and that was Demolition. You had it at 26, I had it at 24, and the BFG, like Dan mentioned, I had 22 and you had 27. So those were actually both the only other films that were on at least 2 lists that we didn't talk about. So. All right, I think that does it then for episode 80 and our most anticipated films of 2016. If you want to dig in even more, check out geekcastradio.com. There will be a blog post up there of my top 100 most anticipated films that you can kind of check out even more. There's some interesting stuff, some interesting other directors that are coming out with stuff that we haven't mentioned, and some other interesting things, like I said, with the fantasy, sci-fi, and comedy genres. So definitely check out that blog post, but also check out our episode post for this episode and comment on what you're anticipating the most, and which ones you agree and disagree with us. We'd definitely like to interact with you there. And if you want to get in touch with us directly over the interwebs, the best way to do that is via Twitter. The show name Twitter handle is at Cinema Geekcast. Mine is at Optimus Solo. Amanda, yours is
Heart Candy Mandy Eyes No Lies.
And Dan, your Twitter?
At Movie Revolt.
So that does it for our look ahead at 2016. We'll be coming back at you with some regular episodes here as we start delving into some of the films and goings-ons of 2016. So we look forward to talking with you guys next week. Until then, this is the Cinema Geeks.